to youth from the U.S. and streaming all over the world. This is Shotgun Sports USA. Get accurate, reliable information in every single episode, with interviews from the best shooters in the game, the best gun clubs across the globe, and industry-leading companies that revolutionize the sport. Be sure to check us out on social media and online at shotgunsportsusa.com. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend, and brought to you by Cole Gunsmithing, Castellani USA, Chromatic Traps, Clay Target Vision, Sound Gear Phantom, and Clay Shooter Supply. Welcome to the show.
This week, Tom Seay is back talking with Cory Kruse on topics like staying competitive while working full-time jobs that are out of shooting, how to keep it fun and serious at the same time, and they get more into the mindset aspect of it all. There's a lot of good information in this one. I hope you enjoy it.
This is Tom Seay this week with another episode. Last week we did Joe Finizzi, had a real interesting conversation with him. This week I wanted to talk to Cory. Cory, I'm happy to have you on. I'm looking forward to having a conversation.
Yeah, man, same here. I appreciate you having me on.
One of the biggest things that Joe and I got into was we didn't actually talk about any techniques or anything to do with his shooting directly. We talked a lot about mindset and a lot about how to handle situations and how he handles the game as he's progressed from not having much responsibility and on into going to college and being busier and having to handle a few other things as well. And I really wanted to talk to a few people about that because I think a lot of people that listen to this and that participate in this sport don't do it for a living, and they have a lot of other things they have to manage, and everybody wants to do well. And so you're one of those people that you do it for. You're about like me. You do it. You don't go out and coach 8 hours a day every day. You have a job as well, and you spend a lot of time coaching, but you have a family, you have a job. You aren't like Anthony or like Wendell out there giving lessons every day. Is that right?
That's right.
I think it's interesting that, I first thing I think about Cory is from the very first time I met you, you really take the game and make it fun. Every time I've shot with you in a squad, you've always been laughing and joking and having a lot of fun until it gets to the point where we have to shoot. You keep the mood light. And I think I really think that makes a great squad mate. And I've learned something from it. I haven't ever told you that, but I've taken something away from that. And I have a hard time getting a little too serious. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the podcast. But I never knew you from a really young age. You've been doing this a long time. I obviously didn't get to know you until later on. And I'd always heard you were an awesome shooter growing up. But I'd heard you had a little wilder past. I got to know you after you had won a national title, and I was just gonna get into this conversation with that and asking you, why do you think that is? Why do you think you won a lot after the age of 25? I mean, you have a family now. You've won a U.S. Open in the last few years. You've won a world title in the last few years, but you've been, get into that a little bit. Is it more stability? Is it just more focus? I mean, more experience? I mean, get into that a little bit.
I mean, the simple answer is, like, why? Okay, so your question, why have I done better in the last 10 years versus the 10 years before? Well, pretty simple. It's just it's acting like a freaking idiot. This wilder side that everyone kind of, some people know about, some people don't. It doesn't really matter. It's not really something to like be proud of. You're talking about, kids nowadays, how kids are going to be kids. I get it. But I mean, we're doing all kinds of stupid stuff. Me and Anthony and Gregg traveled the world together at a young age. We had a lot of fun, but, I was basically acting a freaking idiot. There's no responsibility. There's nothing. And so, look at it now. It's just like, I wasted a lot of valuable time that I could have been investing back in myself. I learned a lot about those past experiences, and basically just from failure. I've done a lot of that, and I'm not really proud of that wild past, but I think maturity, finding out that, my real personal identity, outside of shooting, and figuring that part out, allowed me to focus on more of what's important and treat shooting, like the game that it is. It's just a hobby I love. And that, along with a little maturity, has showed me, it's enabled me to have more success now from then. I mean, I wouldn't recommend go out and act a idiot for years. There was some success, and I really appreciate everyone that stuck by me, through all those wild times. So it's not really something to, I guess, dwell on or magnify, but I would say growing up is a big deal. Maturing is a big deal, and finding out what's really important and trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I mean, I see you around the course, and it's I don't really know much of what went on in the past. I just know you won a lot in the past, and you handle yourself so well on the course. Every time I've been with you, like I said earlier, you make the game fun, you take it lightheartedly, but then again, at the same time, you're really serious, and that's definitely a mark of maturity in the game. And I'll have to admit that's something that's been really hard a really hard place to get to when you care about winning so much and competing. And how do you get there to that point where you're slapping people on the back, you're having fun, but I know at the same time you're serious?
Yeah, man. It's so there's so many different self-help books and mental management books that say you have to be this laser focused person. Well, you can still be that on the inside, but on the outside, you can still be pleasant to be around. Someone that's just so tight and so affected by, their surroundings, and, so easily distracted. I mean, go shoot you want to learn? Go shoot some oil field shoots. They got dudes pulling up behind you with their music blaring, and all sorts of distractions. And if that bothers you, if your game is that vulnerable that something that someone else is doing bothers you or pulls you out of your focused area, you got learning to do. And how do I enjoy it and have a good time? Well, it's a freaking game. If you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? And you can still have that love for the game. You're out there amongst all of your buddies, and they're also competitors, but Tom, I don't ever want to beat you whenever you're having a bad day. It doesn't mean anything to me. And doesn't mean anything to me like if I beat you on your best day. Well, it's like, yeah, man, I got to beat Tom on his best day. All right. Well, tomorrow's another day. That doesn't mean I'm any better than you, or doesn't mean that you're any better than me. It's a freaking game. We're shooting skeet targets. I mean, it's not. It's always over exaggerated by a performance. Now, let's take it to a different scale. We're shooting for $1 million. Does it change anything? Not one bit. It's just money. It's just a prize. It doesn't identify either one of us as being better. It means I won on Saturday. You might win on Sunday. You might win on Saturday and Sunday. Well, we also got next week, next month, next year. Now, if your life consists of your happiness dwelled around whether you won this month and next year, well, life's short, man. You're wasting a lot of time worrying about a stickman trophy or a shooting accolade whenever you've got a lot of life, friends, and meaningful things to play through. And I know that kind of gets a little bit deep, but it's really what's important. And so that's why it's easy for me to go and just have a good time, hang out with my buddies. But whenever you walk into the box, at that point, it's time to do your best. So flip the switch on, do what you've trained to do, get the job done, and get out and start having fun again, and laughing, joking. Life's short, man. You got to enjoy it. Have some laughs, hang out with your buddies, and enjoy what you do. So overall, I guess that's kind of why it's easy to do that. And I think, most people should kind of take that into account. Now you can be, if I got a goofy personality, that doesn't mean everyone go out and act a fool and you got to be laughing and cutting up to have a good time. That doesn't mean, that's not what I'm trying to say. Some people are reserved, some people are outgoing. It took 10 years to get Greg Wolf to start saying full sentences. So, some people, you just crack them out of their shell a little bit. I'm a people person. I like to entertain. I like to make people laugh, and that's just kind of how I have fun. That doesn't mean, if we're shooting together and you're just kind of quiet, and Anthony's pretty quiet, but there's also times that he's got some pretty good jokes. And the same thing. And so, the squad that I've shot with forever, Gregg, Anthony, and Travis Mears, it's kind of like a good balance. I'm kind of the goofball. Everybody's a goofball, really, once you get to know them. But, we all kind of have a good time. There's a communication level, that we all have, which you're well aware of. If one of us is, it's pretty easy to know if one of us is struggling or if we're on point. And if one of us is struggling, it's, hey, this is all I'm seeing, or, just a little word of encouragement, to kind of get you back in the game. Because again, like I said a minute ago, it's tough to see a buddy struggle. You always want them to do their best. And at the same point, we know how good everyone is. Imagine if at that Top Gun shoot off at Nationals, if everybody shot to their full capability, we'd be shooting all day and all night. No one would miss. You know what I mean? It's just like who struggles the least sometimes. And I don't know. I'm kind of rambling on right now, but it's a fun thought.
Well, no, it brings it to a good point. I mean, that's something I wanted to get into is I talk about you being a fun personality to shoot with, but obviously you take it extremely seriously. You've had a lot of wins, but I see you shooting with Anthony and Gregg a lot, and I take notice of that, and so does everybody. But you all, I'm sure, have a lot of stories. Y'all have traveled together a lot. Y'all have all won a lot over the years, and that's definitely something that's unique in the sport, is being able to compete against some of your best friends at the highest level. And like you said, being able to beat Anthony on his best day is an accomplishment, and vice versa, or beat Gregg and vice versa, and Travis. I think that's really admirable to be able to squad with some of your best friends, and whether they beat you or you beat them, at the end of the day, hey, let's go have dinner. And
you got to be proud of your buddy whenever he achieves, that greatness which they deserve. It's fun to root for him. It's fun to see him finish, on the home stretch, and it hurts to see him struggle. But it's I guess that's the cool part about just being a true competitor. You don't have to win them all to still enjoy it. There's enjoyable moments across the board, whether it's about you or about them or about watching, the shoot could have completely sucked and you hung around and watched the sub junior shoot off and that kid had a light shot shoot off. That's freaking awesome to me.
I'm the same way. I enjoy shooting with, other people, and I don't necessarily want to see anybody struggle. And I'm like you, if I'm going to beat somebody, I want to beat them on their best day. I don't want everybody else to have a bad day. And because you hadn't really accomplished much. But
yeah, it's like, hey, look at this trophy I won. All I did was I sucked the least. None of us shot good.
Yeah.
What does that do? You don't remember that one. You just remember the ones that I really shot to my full capability. And some of them you could still lose. But that's happened to me before. I'm like, man, I thought I hit them all and still lost.
Right.
I think it was the U.S. Open at Claythorne that Anthony won. I think he shot a 197 I think I had a 195 or 6 or something like that. I mean, it was dang near perfect, but Anthony redefined that. Like, no, his score was absolutely perfect. He shot perfect. I mean, how else do you say it? But I shot well and still lost. I'm super proud of Anthony too. Yeah, didn't you have like a gimp hand or something like that at that time?
Something like that. Yeah, I had a broke nail. Couldn't pin. No, that's this is a little bit off topic, but kind of the question just popped into my mind when you're sitting here talking about it. Is explain how you, Anthony, and Gregg and all started out shooting young and just started to be friends and start shooting together and traveling the world together. I mean, y'all, that's something that I didn't get to witness. I came into the sport a lot younger. I've always, Gregg won a world title. I know you and Anthony were always, going to tournaments, and, Anthony won a lot of titles, and you guys all traveled on Team USA. And, that's something interesting. I've never asked that question. How did y'all, obviously you were competing together, but how did y'all become such good friends to the point where it's like, hey, let's all shoot together?
Over some beers as 16-year-olds over in Europe. Gregg's from Minnesota, Anthony's New Jersey, I'm Texas. And, as the junior Team USA, hanging out over in England and get to talking about it. And then I guess by the time we were 18, so why don't we just squad together? That'd be fun. Y'all want to go to this shoot? Let's squad up, and just started happening. And then once we're squatted together, then we end up staying together, and it just kind of kept going from there. It's fun. You keep pushing each other. You keep training together. Anthony and I both grew up under Dan Carlisle, so it was easy for us because we shot the same, and and Gregg was always there with us. We were typically always, the three that were duking it out, for the podium spots. I'm not saying we always did it, but, we had a pretty good run, in those junior years, and just kind of kept it going, man. Iron sharpens iron. We kept pushing each other, and, it's kind of a fun thought to have, but more times than not, if you're the high guy on our squad, you pretty much won. It wasn't always that way, but if you were the high guy on our squad, you pretty much were going to podium. I'll put it that way. And so, I mean, that was kind of always a fun thing amongst us to root for. And, they might have, if you ask Anthony and Gregg or Travis, like what kind of, how it all came together, they might have a little different take on it. But as far as I can remember, I mean, that was a long time ago too. Like, I don't know, I'm 38 and I was 18 years ago. So 20 years ago, man. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 24. I was just fixing to say that's almost.
We've been shooting together since you was a 4-year-old. I know. I look young.
Yeah, you've aged well.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I can relate a little bit to that. David Wendell and I shoot a lot, or we try to shoot a lot together. We try to push each other and help each other out as it goes, but.
Yeah, man, it's an awesome thing. I wish we'd see more of it, and especially with the junior crowd right now. You start to see a little bit, here and there, but I haven't really seen a group of guys get together as me, Travis, Anthony, and Gregg all kind of did. That was still special times. I hope it never ends.
Touching on something real quick, I don't want to get too deep into it, but you all shooting together, it obviously pushes the game along as well, because you're apt to all help each other at some point and shoot better. And I really enjoyed being in the Super Squad at the U.S. Open with, we were all kind of right there together, and it was a lot of fun. Everybody pushed each other, and everybody was huddling up and saying, trying to tally up the scores and all that. I think that's a real good environment for the sport, but totally. It kind of falls right in line with what we were talking about. I really enjoyed that. But I kind of to move on to back into the meat of the conversation is, we've talked about, you guys started shooting, you transitioned into being a more mature shooter.
I wouldn't go that far being more mature. I'm still pretty immature.
Well, wild. Get out of the goofy side. You got it. But you've got a family now. You've got a little daughter that's always that's at the shoots a lot. You've got a wife that's there. Ed is always there. And that's something to manage. And what I said when we very started the conversation or this podcast is one of the topics I wanted to get into that a lot of people can relate is managing things outside of shooting and still compete and still accomplish the goals that you have set for yourself within shooting. And I see you a lot of times at tournaments, you'll have Claire in the cart, and y'all all be going out somewhere, and your daughter's playing with something, and I know you can hear when you're up there shooting or fixing to get in the stand, and go into the shoot. I can imagine there's a lot of situations where she wants to eat something, and something she needs this or wants that, and you obviously are a great dad and do what she needs. But how do you stay focused and keep all of that going, but still do your responsibility as a dad and shoot at the same time at a high level? I mean, has that been a transition period for you, or is it just a natural thing?
It hasn't always been easy, and it still, I won't ever say it's easy. It's tough, the balance, but the key ingredient to make it all work is communication. I mean, my wife is my best friend, and my teammate. I mean, I miss them when they're not with me, but you ask how do I focus attention, and it's through communication with my teammate, my wife. She handles things whenever it's time for me to get my mind on shooting, and then whenever I'm done, I turn the switch off and get back to them. I mean, if you can't flip that switch off, you've just added more work than necessary. I mean, shooting's a game. We don't make enough money for it to be turned on 24/7. And even if we did, like golfers or whatever, if your performance in shooting that round, is what defines you, you still have some maturing to do. I mean, I love my family. It's a joy having them with me. And sometimes it just gets too expensive, for them to travel with me. And although that sucks, but like I originally said, communication's really what remedies the focus. If I'm in contention or something like that, my wife knows how to kind of gauge their presence in the round. If it's like, nothing's really bothering me. I'm easy to, it doesn't, if Claire goes and gets in the cage with me while I'm shooting a pair for the Nationals, some days it doesn't bother me at all if you're just that relaxed. But if you're already battling, certain distractions or just external crap, then sometimes that gets the balance, the scale kind of gets a little too heavy on the distraction side. And so, then you kind of move them backwards a little bit, or kind of keep that distance or that space. And so it ebbs and flows, but I think just keeping everything right at home to where you're not irritable. If you're irritable, how much fun am I going to be around if I'm, kind of cranky around you? It's like, all right, we don't even, need to be that close or visiting or something like that. But if everybody's hunky dory and you just kind of know how to feel the crowd out, and she knows how I am, I know how they are, and if things are good, come on, it's fun to have them around, I guess is really what I'm trying to say. And when they're there with me, if they're out on the course, one thing. If they're at the tournament, but just kind of, they're going to have a pool day while I'm shooting, and then we'll join up after. It ebbs and flows, man. It's a different recipe every week, every tournament, and they don't always travel to every single one of them. I mean, this game has gotten so expensive. Plane tickets, airfare, hotels, meals, entry fees, all the above, so it makes it pretty expensive for them to travel to all of them. But if it's something local, here in Texas is probably a lot of the ones that you're talking about seeing them. They'll be at the U.S. Open and those sort of shoots, the Texas State, and it can be really easy. It can be really hard, but communication with the wife is really what helps that. Even before the shoot, it doesn't even it's not even always during it. But leading up to the week, if I've got a lot on my plate for my main job, that's one thing. And there's no cookie cutter sort of process or procedure that kind of really explains the full question. So the best answer for that is, how do you stay focused? Communication, man, it balances out everything to the point where whatever's coming up, you can still deal with it, whether it's good or bad. I hope that makes any sense or not.
No, it does. And a big point that you hit in that caught my ear was keeping everything, keeping the mood light, keeping everybody happy through communication, hunky dory. Not letting things make you irritable while you're shooting. That has a huge part to play in your performance. If you're irritable and I'm having a smooth day, or somebody else is having a smooth day and everything's falling right in place, which very, very rarely ever happens. That can be a big disadvantage if you're not having a very good day and you're being irritable, and I think that's something that plays a larger part in performance than most people think it does. But that's very hard to manage. And that when you're really focused on something and there are things that don't go quite within your routine, it's very easy to get irritable. But that was one of my main points in saying, you're a very happy-go-lucky, slap you on the back, fun to shoot with kind of guy. And that makes it easier for your squad mates to be that way. But, having a lot of responsibility, because your ultimate responsibility is to take care of your daughter and everything. But you're there to shoot as well. You have sponsors and you clearly want to win. And,
even on the hindsight, how many people bring their kids with them to work? Exactly. Only if you have to. But is shooting work? It can be. Is it a game? Yeah. We can always overdo it, but it ebbs and flows. Catherine's not going to let Claire run up to me in the middle of the super final for the world championship. No, but on Thursday or Friday or Saturday of a main event, if she normally will ask, hey, do you want us to come out with you today or not? And it's a pretty simple answer. No, not today. Or yeah, y'all come on out. But equally so, it's I feel it. It's honorable to also make that be approved within your squad. Because I don't want to disturb Anthony, I don't want to disturb Travis or Gregg. But we all have daughters, we all have kids, so we're pretty much on the same page as far as it not really bothering us. But at the same point, we just kind of know how to act around each other, I guess you could say. And it's not, just a bunch of, fooling around in, the playground the whole time while you're trying to get your job done. So it's not, for lack of better words, a bunch of grab ass the whole time you're out there shooting. There are restrictions, but at the main point, like you're talking about, it's got to be fun. It's got to be kind of lighthearted, but at the same time, very intense. You got to know how to channel that, that intensity towards the planning and execution of the next pair and running the next stand and then getting to the next stand and running it and, playing a good round. And so if something is going to distract that, then, you need to cinch that up or clean that up anyway. So your performance is not affected. But if your kid running around behind you is bothering you, well, send them back to the course. If it's not, yeah, I'd like to shoot a stand and go sit back in the cart and play with Claire, talk to my wife, or talk with my buddies and all that sort of stuff. You can't stay switched on for that whole time of the course. I was talking with Glenn Eller. You know him?
Yep.
All right. So Glenn's he's been to the Olympics. I don't know how many times now, 5 or something like that, and an Olympic gold medalist. But he started in sporting clays, and we start talking about, okay, how long does it take you to shoot a round of sporting clays? Let's say 2.5 hours. All right. How much time do and let's just say for easy numbers, it's a 10-station course. How often or how long does it take you to shoot one stand? What do you say? To go shoot 5 pairs in a stand. It might take you longer than me.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be a trick question right there.
Let's say it takes 2 minutes. All right, times 10 stains, you got 20 minutes of work. Let's double that and say you got 40 minutes because you're going to plan for a few minutes before you shoot it, right? So you got 40 minutes of real work over 2.5 hours. What are you going to do with all the remainder of the time? If you're going to try and stay switched on that full amount, you're going to be absolutely exhausted by the time it's to close out the round. So you got to have something to do to turn that switch off, relax, enjoy your day, enjoy that, the presence that you're out there and being able to do something that you like. So 2 minutes before your time's up, get your plan together, get in there and do the box. And then all the exterior stuff, it can wait, after those 4 minutes. You got a lot of time to play in between the round.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to break it down that way and to always look at something and turn what could potentially be an irritable negative situation and look at it with a positive spin. I mean, that in its sense is what I was just talking about, how having a positive mindset just in shooting is so valuable. Looking at things that way, the way you just described, okay, are you going to work for 2.5 hours straight? Or you're spending time riding to the station, and you've got to you're shooting with friends. It's a game, but at the same time, you're serious. I mean, that's such a healthy mindset when you think of the game of sporting clays. Because I mean, I can honestly remember, and this is at the time it blew my mind, but I've seen it more now. I've literally shot with Anthony in squads, and one of his daughters is literally hugging onto one of his legs while he's shooting, calling for a pair. And I'm thinking that is a very strong mental state to be in, to be able to ignore that and hit the pair.
It appears that way, but wait till you got a little girl of your own. Just having her right there is so comforting. It's like you get to have your kid at work with you. You get to allow your kid the opportunity to see their dad do what they do well. So it's kind of a gift. It's not really a hindrance. For someone with that sort of mindset, it could be distracting. But it's really not, man. I mean, I've had times where certain trappers are like, "Sir, you need to have your daughter can't be in the cage with you." I'm like, "Why?" Like she's got glasses and earplugs on. She's not bothering me. She's bothering you more than she is me. It's kind of comforting. She knows, even if she's pulling on my leg. I've got multiple pictures of Claire up in the stand with her little toy gun while I'm actually shooting like a little local shoot and all that. I mean, it's kind of a gift, man. It's special times, special memories. They're only that young once. You got a lot of shooting tournaments, ahead of you. You don't have a whole lot of time, when they're 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or even younger. So, it's special memories, special pictures, and I don't know, man. It just doesn't. I look at it different, but I can also understand too, from the perspective without having kids, that it's like, shut your damn kid up, man. I'm trying to work here.
No, I think it's really cool. I really do, because I can see that, and there are a lot of people. A lot of people. I mean, I know a lot of people with kids. Everybody knows a lot of people with kids, but how people handle their kids differently, and there are people that handle their shooting differently, and to see all of you all there like that is refreshing. It's a healthy mindset, the way you look at the game. And I mean, even just that conversation turning something that a lot of people would think of as a negative or be too serious to think of make the positive spin on it. That's just a healthy mindset in shooting. That's a testament to what I said from the very beginning. What the first thing when I met you that I noticed was you're always lighthearted and happy-go-lucky. But it appears that way in your emotion and outward expressions. But outside of shooting, outside of giving occasional lessons, what do you do outside of shooting?
Man, I got a bunch of roles. I've worked for a company called C&G Boats. It's a oil field marine transportation company. Basically, what we do, if you were to imagine us kind of like the trucking business of the Gulf of Mexico oil field operations, you got an 18-wheeler. I'm sure everyone's seen them on the interstate or whatever, hauling heavy pieces of equipment and whatnot. Well, that's the equivalent of what we call a supply boat. They come in shapes anywhere from 110 foot all the way up to 280 feet. All kinds of cool engines and GPS position holding software and whatnot. And then if you see a hotshot truck, somebody with their Dodge Ram or a Sprinter van pulling a flatbed trailer with one piece of pipe on it, we call that kind of like the equivalent of a crew boat. And they can be anywhere from 110 foot all the way up to 205 feet. Those boats, they run fast, they run light. And they're kind of like, just like I said, the hot shot truck running back and forth to location. The supply boat will more or less carry heavy equipment. I've been with them since I think somewhere around 2006 or 8 or something like that. I'm terrible at like remembering which year it was. They all run together, and it's not really that important to me. But love the job, love the team, love the family that I've had. They've always supported everything. And it's been, still is, one of the coolest jobs you can imagine having. Then my wife has a consulting group. We call it Cruise Interest, and we're helping out different 501c3 companies for fundraising, management, you name it. Whether someone, the Warrior Health Foundation, it's really cool. I'll tell you about that too. But it's a group that raises money for special forces, special operations guys that come back from their careers in the military, and they're not necessarily blown up or PTSD type things, but a lot of these guys, just from concussive blast wave research, imagine being next to a bomb going off multiple times a day, and you've seen in like slow motion videos, like where the dude drops the mortar round in the tube, and then and the dust lifts up. Well, that's that blast wave I'm talking about. Every time that passes through your body, it does something in your pituitary gland that regulates your hormone releases in your body. And after 10, 15 years of that, one thing is in battle, but how much these dudes do in training is kind of like what we do in sporting clays. We have a small bomb going off in our face and in our shoulder and in our neck, 50,000 times a year, right? And so I'm not correlating that, but just imagine that sort of thing. Over so much time, their hormone regulation gets all out of whack. So they come home from 10, 15-year careers, these dudes who are top tier, this is like development group, Navy SEALs, Delta Force guys, MARSOC, Marine, the real deal guys. And they can't remember things. They get irritable. They can't sleep and whatnot. And, basically what the Warrior Health Foundation does a vitamin panel on them, figure out where the thresholds are that where their highs and lows are, and balances out their vitamin and hormone levels. First, it's a 99% success rate with these guys or on this program. And the first thing they always say, like, wow, dude, I hadn't realized I haven't slept in 10 years. Like, to get a good full 8-hour sleep, it was a big thing for these guys because they're used to working all night, sleep for a little bit, and get up and go do it again. And so it's really special. We're super passionate about it. But that's the Warrior Health Foundation. My wife helps them with fundraising and event management and planning, etc. I help out with that. I'm kind of like her errand boy with that because we've got a lot of really close friends, and she's really good at it. So C&G, Cruise Interest. We also do consulting for different ranches and ranges that want to build sporting clays courses, 5 stands, traps, skeet fields, machine sales. So everything kind of still ties back into shooting, even though it might not actually be through the competition. And I feel like all my sponsors I actually work for as well, whether it's Rhino, Aguila Ammunition, gave me a cool role to kind of help. You see how bad Shot Shell was last year and just all the component shortages and the price of ammo. Aguila kind of gave me a hybrid role to help out in Texas with, getting some of the best ammunition back in the hands of the competitors and kind of growing and expanding the company from there. That's a super cool team of folks, man. Really happy to be helping out with that. And then, like with Blaser, expanding that brand of, Blaser makes awesome rifles and shotguns. And so to kind of get the relationships there with not only just the dealers, but ranches, and spreading the word that Blaser does have one of the best rifles on the market as well. So it's kind of like, okay, the question was, what all do you do? It's a lot. And it's this, but C&G is one of the main things, that I always kind of just recenter on. And I don't know if, I'm probably missing something in there, but being a husband and a dad.
Yeah, that's a full-time job in itself.
More importantly.
Yeah.
But it's fun, man.
Yeah.
Me and my wife make a good team, and she helps me out with pretty much everything, and staying organized. I guess is the big part. You're gonna have little curveballs thrown your way and everything. So kind of take the punches as they roll, do your best, and keep up with it. So shooting's kind of turned into more of a fun escape, that rather than, I guess something that I primarily focus on, I guess, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, you're not out standing behind the gun.
Yeah, and I still teach, at least 2 days a month. I've got a commitment with a Big Easy Ranch in Columbus, Texas. This place is amazing. You got to check out their website. It's out of this world. Their sporting place course is super nice. They let me help them with the design of that. And I made a commitment to the ranch owner. I'd at least teach 2 days a month out there, and been doing that for a couple of years now. And so that's anyone that kind of asks about lessons and whatnot. I kind of just put them in that portfolio, and when that stuff kind of gets filled up, I'll always try to like open up another day here and there for whoever else. If someone's on me long enough and hard enough that I know they really want it, we'll always make room and find some time.
That was going to be one of my questions. Is I did not think that you were behind the gun every day teaching. I knew you had other things that you were doing, and having to balance all that is definitely a chore in itself. I balance a lot of going to school, finishing up school, working, shooting, girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. It definitely takes a balance, and going to shoots is a little bit of a release, like you just said, but still take it extremely seriously. But at one time I coached all the time, and I have an opinion. I coached for about 2 years. I coached a lot and went to school, and so I was behind somebody's gun most every day. But prior to that, when I was in high school, I wasn't, and I was shooting, and shooting was kind of a release, get away from school and basketball and other sports. But as things have progressed and I've gotten a little older, and one of the main topics of this conversation is with you is how do you manage that, and do you think that affects your competitiveness against somebody who shoots every day and coaches? And I have an opinion, but I want to see what yours is.
I don't really know, man. It just, how does it affect my competitiveness compared to someone that coaches every day? I don't really know what their mindset is. I know everyone's always battling something, and that pretty much affects whatever their mindset is. I mean, real life happens, and unless you've got no responsibility at all in your life, your mindset's always going to be affected by what you have on your plate at the current time. Now there's like this trend going on. A lot of people have asked this question, like, well, Cory, you don't shoot that many tournaments and you don't teach that much, and you're like the average Joe guy that can still compete, for the working guy sort of aspect of it. Man, that doesn't make it any easier or harder than me. Anthony and Wendell and Bill and all the guys that do teach a lot, man, it's almost even harder. I mean, they have to still separate. It's so diluted and whatnot. So it's not that anything I'm doing is any more special. It's equally as hard on everybody. Whether my lifestyle connects better with, a certain listener or not, I'm glad that it does for certain people. And I appreciate the, I guess the compliments that come from it, but it's not anything any more special than someone that does it full time. I think it's important to kind of say that, out of respect and honor to Anthony and Wendell and any other full-time coach, right? But you had asked, like what my mindset, is, going into competitions whenever not teaching or not being behind the gun as much as someone who shoots a lot or teaches a lot and all that. And, even though I don't see the clays every day, my mindset's still the same as someone that does. Every shoot I go to, I just want to see if I can still be a competitor. I like to see if I can still rub shoulders with the guys at the top. I feel like, I feel like I can, so I have that confidence. But it feels good to be able to whenever you can. I also find that when I'm in love with the game, I'm really excited about it. I want to be there. I do better. I haven't really been that way since 2020. I've kind of been, it's been watered down, and I was like, whatever. I'll shoot the tournaments and, kind of see, but, I'm a little bit hungrier this year. And so back in 2020, it's just kind of more work than I was really willing to give it. And it obviously showed, performance wise. And I think, if I do bad enough, it doesn't affect my identity. I just work harder and keep working out kinks until I achieve what I want to do. I guess that's really my mindset, whether I do good or do bad.
Yeah, I mean, I that would have been exactly my answer, and I think that I've done a little both sides of the fence a little bit. I've shot with the only responsibility is going to school and making sure my homework's done. I've shot where I needed to teach and to make some money, not nearly to the level that Anthony or Wendell or any of those guys do. And then I've also had a full-time job, managing people and different things. But, I think that I asked this question because a lot of people have asked me this question, just like they've probably asked you and referred to you as the working, you're kind of a working man now, or this or that or the other. And
you're not a full timer. It's what's it like? How do you do it? Because you're not a full timer. I mean, dude, whenever I was teaching full time, it was harder, and I would think that I say it's harder. It's all by comparison, man. Everything's relative. However you skin the cat, however you put it on the balance scale, everything's relative. Because I'm doing something different, does that make my problems more important than something you're dealing with at school? No, it's all relative. It's all equally as important. Just because, if I'm this billionaire dealing with, 50 different businesses and whatnot, is his problems more important than something you're battling, with your girlfriend or something? No, it's all relative. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I agree completely.
It doesn't. Yeah. And so I do, like I was saying, when I was teaching full time, that's the last thing I wanted to do was go shoot. Like I was so over it. And like, man, I want to go fishing or go hunting or go play tiddlywinks for all that matters. That's the last thing I want to do is shoot a shotgun. And so whenever you're around it so much, I think it does kind of make it harder. So I don't really feel like I have an advantage. It's, I feel like I guess I do have the advantage, if anything. I feel like you have someone that has to, if that's their livelihood, we're all stewards of our own choices. So if that's what you're choosing to do in life is to be a career shotgun teacher, by all means, be good at it, but still be able to factor in, you still have to have that certain amount of love for the game that keeps it fun, keeps it interesting. And, those goal sets and the desire to achieve that if you're ever going to continue to be good at it. I feel like I've been burnt out pretty bad. I'm probably just getting out of my fourth burnout right now. Like, whatever, but now I'm like, man, you sucked these past 2 years. You better get your crap together. And like, all right, I want to do something this year. I'm actually going to, try harder.
I agree. Everything you've said. I think coaching does make it harder, because when you're out there every day, people are paying you good money to pay attention to them all the time. You better be watching when they're shooting. You better be able to critique what they just did, because I don't know is not an acceptable answer. So you have that factor, and like you said, the burnout factor. If you do something every single day, by the time a tournament comes up or the time you need to practice yourself to get ready, it's hard, because you've got other things you want to go do. And it's like you said, it's relative, I think, or whether you're working, whether you're giving lessons, it's all a job. It's all, you got your mind on somebody else's business. You're there for somebody else. But
it's long, hard days too, man. I mean, I don't know how much, fence building you've done in South Texas, all that. That's actually kind of therapeutic, rather than standing on your feet for, 10 or 12 hours a day, looking over someone's shoulder, being attentive to every single shot, breaking down the same thing for a 2-hour block, and then going through and doing it again. It's tough work. And if you're really good at it and you're spotting everything, and someone comes away from the lesson really learning something, and they feel like, their money was well spent, then you've done something for them, and, hopefully you've improved the game. But it is hard work, and it's well-deserved money. And I think that's important whenever someone selects a coach, is, you get out of it what you put into it. If you want the real meat and potatoes, you gotta go and find the guy that can deliver that.
That's exactly right. Definitely a topic that I've been asked a lot. Like I said, the working man or whatever. I don't think of it like that. Everybody has got to come to the tournament and compete. And I've been in a better mindset when I've been working or going to school, or it does not matter to me. When you've got to have a love for the game, you've got to have a positive mindset, and you've got to have that tenacity and that will to do better and win.
Just that desire to outwork the other guy. Sometimes you got your work cut out for you. You want to outwork Anthony at it. Better get your lacrosse boots on.
Yep, better strap up. That's right. Well, we've talked a lot about, you having, other jobs, shooting not being your main thing, and staying competitive in it. We've talked about, having your family there, and how that affects you and your mindset, and how your outlook on that is. And, something I've noticed about you is, you don't go to every single tournament. How do you decide which tournaments are important for you to attend, and I mean, how do you decide that? As you start out the year, you say, well, I don't want to go to 15, but I do want to go to these 6.
Pretty simple. Is the juice worth the squeeze? If it's going to cost me $5,000 to show up, and I've got to win the whole shoot to get the stick man and break even, I'm out. Like, doesn't make zero sense to me to go, spend that kind of money and get another stickman trophy that no one's really going to remember, and then I broke even. It's not worth my time. I don't say that arrogantly. I say that just, as a steward of my own hard work and money. Now on the other side of that, if I can achieve a goal and profit from that event through sponsors, and elevating the brands that, we shoot for, and additionally financially, support myself, then yeah, I'm in. And so whenever I look at shoots, I want to see what the payout is. I want to see, the exposure that's going to get. I want to see, if it's something that, my sponsors, really, want exposure at. And at that point, yeah, I'm in. But if I got to go pay $5,000 to go compete against you and beat you just to break even, I'm out. We can go do that, at the Nationals or at the U.S. Open, or at a state championship and stuff like that. And I hope people start talking about this more. And it's a sensitive subject, but the game is so fun that the majority of people who shoot it just go shoot it because they want to shoot. They have zero worry, fear, or recollection of like what you could win out of it. They just want to. It's a hobby. It's more entertainment. Fun facts. You look at how many guys in the top 50 at nationals play the $500 winner take all option. It ain't that many. It's a lot less than you'd probably guess, and that's sad. The fact of how many events don't have money back to class. I really tip my hat to Kevin Doherty at Greater Houston Sportsman's Club. The Legacy Cup. It's like a prelim. You can make $4,500, $5,000 on a prelim there. You got to win the K Cup at nationals to kind of get that kind of money. If you can't show up and profit yourself, that's why. All right, Tom, here's a question for you. How many guys are there really in the top 20, that are capable of winning? There's at least 20 of them, I feel. All right, now, how many of those 20 make a living shooting tournaments? Zero.
None.
They make a living teaching due to their resume of winning those tournaments and their exposure at those tournaments. And you telling me nowadays that an organization can't figure out a way to fund that? Come on. You can go make $1 million a year throwing washers and cornhole, and bowlers make more money than we do. And this game is just as hard or harder than professional tennis players, golfers, and everything. The critique, and I've seen some of the world's best and most talented people, and they would vouch that, this game, to play it at the top, is equally as hard as it is at golf, anything else. Therefore, it's due to our mismanagement and I know we have our battles and whatnot against the pro or anti-gun type stuff and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. There's YouTubers that make $1 million making a fool of themselves. We could figure out a way. I think that what they did this year with the Super Squad, I think what Mark Baltazar and Chris Claxon are doing, what you guys are doing, getting it out there, and there's plenty of platforms and whatnot. But ain't nobody going to do it for us. Someone's going to have to step up and start really being a better steward and manager of the industry itself. I don't know. That's just my take on it. It's a little biased, and I know there's a lot more hurdles to get to that point, but I think that there's still a way. It just hadn't happened yet.
Maybe it is biased, but I share a lot of the same. I could get into. We could have a whole nother podcast episode about just this subject, going back and forth and talking about it, because I'm very opinionated about this subject. maybe we should.
You should.
You
think here's another fun fact: how many outstanding and some of the best businessmen in America love shooting, and they've built
people
tons and tons of wealth, and properly managing their business. And shooting is a hobby. You don't think we have access to tons of valuable information on how to do it and different ways to throw it against the wall and see what sticks? I know TV is not the answer because you can't televise shooting, until you get the fancy camera stuff. But I think that the one guy out there that's got a pretty good take on it's Chris. The shots that he captures over the shoulder and making it easy for shot breakdown and whatnot. So you have something to chew on to do an instant replay. I mean, I'll get off my soapbox because I can get pretty passionate about it, but I know that there's a way. Maybe it's just my stubbornness, hard-headedness, or, just there's no quit in me. So I think that with the brains in the industry, there is a way. And, they keep talking about it enough, someone will step up that has the right answer. But I know it ain't shooters.
Yeah.
As shooters, I've seen us, single-handedly destroy every attempt that, guys have made to elevate the game.
Yeah, there's definitely a good foundation to go to the next level. It's just whether or not it's going to be managed in the proper way to do that. I look at the organization of some of these tournaments we go to, and it's not the best. It is not. the best.
And look,
you go
just to be clear, the clubs are doing all they can. I don't mean to cut you off, but I mean you got to put in there. The clubs aren't making any mistakes. The clubs are doing all they can to fund their business and get to the next one. So that it's not the club's responsibility either.
Yep, you're exactly right. It's very hard to put on a major shoe. There's a lot of work that goes involved.
It's a ton of
huge
work.
expense, and it's not the clubs.
And the shooter group, you can have a good shoot, that you prepared for a year for, and you can just get fried on the internet because you had to drive through a mud hole, or the sandwich wasn't good. It's like the
social media.
The clubs, that's right, man. And it's not always that sounds very bitter. There is a lot of praise, but there's always someone that'll offer a lot of unnecessary critique. Let's build each other up. Constructive criticism is always welcome. But tearing anybody down, and that's not what I'm trying to do by bringing this up. I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I just want to bring some light on a sensitive subject. That you've got a lot of really talented, special people in the game, and I think that we've also there's a way, just hadn't been figured out yet, to take the game to the next level.
That's my point in saying there's a great foundation, but the next level management can take it to places that people have wanted it to go for a long time, but it takes the right management. It's just like any business, just like any company. It can be set up, but if it doesn't have the right leadership and the right management, it's not going to do so well. But
that's right.
Maybe we can get into another episode of this one day. Maybe that's a little teaser for another one in the future.
It'd be a good one, man. We need some mainstream media people, to soundboard, how do we make this happen? It would be a fun project for them to pioneer a way to take an industry of solid people. You can't go to a baseball field or a basketball game and meet this many cool people from all walks of life: doctors, lawyers, all sorts of different entrepreneurs from any different industry, and have a conversation with them, much less go talk to some of the most talented professionals in the game and just walk up to them on the course and have a conversation with them during the competition. Can't do that.
That's right.
Man, even bowlers got security, dude.
That's part of the love for the game. I mean, it's just,
that's right.
It's such an awesome game.
You can take some advice from those professional cornholers.
They know how to do it. Look at them.
If they're beating you, pay attention to what they're doing.
Yeah, I hope we can come together and get another episode going about that topic. Maybe we can get a couple of people on here to put in their ideas and opinions. That may be a 4-hour-long episode, but
we got to chop it into some blocks. There's a lot to talk about on it. And I know a lot of this happens with me a lot. You kind of bring up an issue, about and the real professional in the room. It's like, you're silly. You're sitting over here worried about, this little problem. This is how you make the big fish happen. Like, that's why I'm just a little, that's why I'm the schmuck and you're the professional. So here, tell us how it's done.
I'd like to hear some more opinions, but I think a lot of them would be pointed in the same direction about where to move the sport and how to move it there. And
well, just the initiative, man. That's what I'm a big proponent of, just initiative. If you're trying, I got your back. But if it's just everything's become stagnant, well, Cory, why don't you go do it? Man, I got enough on my plate. Well, that's all of our excuse. And so, it takes one to be one, right? I don't really have an excuse on why I haven't sacrificed to go push it. I just don't know it. I don't know what it takes. I want to talk to a real professional that might have some advice. I've seen several different efforts, from Ray Foreman with Make or Break to the PSCA. There's a lot of guys that's tried, that's spent a lot of money giving it a whirl, and I'd love to give them all a big hug just for trying. So
yep.
The more people that try, the better chance, the more chances we have anyway.
Yep, you couldn't have said it any better. Could not have said it any better. Well, that's about all I got.
appreciate what you guys are doing. Hope everyone kind of gets something out of it, and hope to see everybody down the road here at all the shoots. Going to have a nice year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely. Well, I enjoyed having you on. I thought it was a real interesting conversation, and maybe there's more to come.
All right, guys. I sure appreciate y'all.
See you.